Hello and welcome to GC360, where news comes full circle. I'm Jessica Vickers.
And I'm Cole Rogers. On today's episode of GC360, we'll fill you in on the Super Tuesday presidential primary results. Leading campus Democrats and Republicans join us in the studio.
How did the Georgia College bass fishing team become #1 in the nation? We found out their secret to their success.
And have you ever wondered whether law enforcement officers in Baldwin County use body cameras? We'll have the answer for you as well. All that and more on this edition of GC360.
The votes are in, and the big winners on Super Tuesday were Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. GC360's Angela Morian looked into Baldwin County's place and Georgia College students' opinions of Georgia's decisions.
This past Tuesday, 12 states cast their ballots for the Republican and Democratic presidential nominees. Georgia primary voters favored frontrunners Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton as their candidates for the upcoming November election. Baldwin County specifically saw close to 4,500 Republican and almost 4,000 Democratic votes counted in Tuesday's tally. 40 of Georgia's 76 Republican delegates went to Trump as he collected 38.8% of the Republican vote. Marco Rubio came out of Georgia with a slight lead over Ted Cruz for second place, but only received 14 delegates to Cruz's 18.
I think they see in Trump someone who is self-sufficient. He's funding his own campaign. He's not being bought out by people. He's speaking his mind. He's changing the conversation, making it more dynamic.
On the left side of the aisle, Clinton bagged 70 of Georgia's 102 Democratic delegates, with her 71.3% victory over competitor Bernie Sanders. For Baldwin County, Clinton took over 3,000 votes, pushing her majority to almost 80% in the county.
Georgia is very Republican, very conservative in many terms, and so they're obviously going to go for the candidate that is more moderate, and Hillary Clinton is that candidate.
Milledgeville's Republican Mayor Gary Thrower was not surprised with the results. He believes there is a strong sense of anti-establishment voting in Baldwin County.
While Donald Trump has quite a bit of momentum at this point in time, there's still I think a lot of questions to be answered with regard to his campaign.
Georgia's decision mirrors the current state of the nation, as Trump accelerates past Cruz and Clinton holds on to her lead over Sanders. Reporting for GC360, I'm Angela Morian.
Let's get some more perspective on the voting. We have leader of the county Young Republicans and the chairman of the County Democratic Party with us in the studio to talk about this week's Georgia primary and the presidential race. Baldwin County Democratic Party Chairman Quentin T. Howell thanks us for joining us.
My pleasure.
And Republican Chairman Ryan James Barr, thank you for joining us as well.
My pleasure to be here.
So I'd like to start off with Mr. Barr.
Okay.
And I'd like to go right into it, and I want to hear your opinion on Donald Trump because he polled so well here, especially in Baldwin County.
Right, he did. He's tapping into a lot of anger that's in the electorate, but I think that's not going to be a winning strategy because we're a country that's not built on hate and anger. We need to make sure that we appeal to the better angels of our nature. If you listen to truly what he's saying a lot of things that are undemocratic, un-American. He wants to change the First Amendment to change the libel laws, make it easier to sue the media when they talk badly about him. And that's not what the founders wanted. That's not what the Constitution was meant for. And I just see that he's a vile coalescence of everything that's wrong with humanity and society.
So I think it's safe to say you don't think he's quite fit for the presidency.
Not at all.
And recently, well, actually today, Mitt Romney came out and very publicly called him a phony.
He did.
And said that he's taking the American people for suckers.
Right.
And how do you feel, you as well, Mr. Howell?
I'm not needed here.
How do you feel about how the whole Republican Party really is just not wanting to back Trump in his?
Well, I think, I agree with Governor Romney. He, if you look at the things that Donald Trump has supported over the years, he was a lifelong Democrat, very liberal Democrat, supported very far left pro-abortion stances, and, all for, using illegal labor and all these things. So I do think that he is now pretending to be Donald Trump, a far-right Republican. And it is a scam. It is a phony, just like the multitude of his businesses that have been built on scams and lies.
And do you think there's a way for the other candidates like Cruz and Rubio or the Republican Party in its entirety to challenge Trump?
Absolutely. A couple of things we need to consider. One, and my good friend Quentin, he could probably speak to this a little bit more. But in 1992, Bill Clinton didn't win any state until Super Tuesday. And then from there, he moved on to win the nomination for the Democratic Party. That's why they called Bill Clinton the comeback kid. If you look at where Mitt Romney was at this same point in 2012, he had 400 plus some odd delegates already. Donald Trump is barely breaking 300, with the other two delegates behind him, Rubio and Cruz, with 120 and 140 roughly somewhere in there last time I checked. And I know some of the congressional delegate counts, especially here in Georgia, are still out. So yeah, there is time for any other candidates to come through. If you look at what the media is doing, by March they like to try to coronate a nominee, and it's really disingenuous to the party, to the process, to let the people vote. You turn on Fox News, MSNBC, or even CNN, they're pretty much Donald Trump's the nominee. He doesn't have 1,237 delegates that you need to get the nomination. He has 300 something. 200 something. So no one's the nominee yet, and I hate that the media tries to put a nominee out there and try to pretty much con the voting public. Oh, well, it's inevitable, we're going to vote for him. So I think there is time for Rubio Cruz to secure the nomination. If anything, we'll have a broker convention the first time since the 1940s, and that would be a really interesting thing, and that would actually be a historic moment. So for that reason, I'd like to see it, and for my own personal views, I'd like to see that happen as well. Right.
And Mr. Howell, do you think that if the media ends up being correct in portraying Donald Trump as the nominee, that's actually a pro for the Democratic Party's standpoint, that might be easier for them to gain more trust within their own nominees and a powerful push towards the Democratic Party if he does end up as the nominee for the Republican Party?
Well, my friend, on the Democratic side, we're in a little bit of a different place than some of our Republican counterpart voters. We are very satisfied with either or. Most Democrats who are supporting Hillary Clinton have no problem supporting Bernie Sanders if he becomes the nominee. And the same applies if they're supporting Bernie Sanders, have no problem in supporting Hillary Clinton if she's a nominee, simply for the mere fact both of them are overly qualified, and we have kept our argument strictly and on issues. We're not talking about how orange someone's skin or how big their hands are. It's just not our we don't want to get in the sandbox with those fights, and when you stay on policy, you become a little bit more grounded on a candidate that actually can win. But I would love to go back and address some of the things that my friends speak of, if that's okay. When we talk about Mr. Trump, I think part of it is the Republican Party is split into almost three parts. You got 3/3, and 1/3 of that is supporting Donald Trump. That's a strong third, that's a base of a third, and that's kind of an extremist part of a third. Both parties have extremists. Be if you're liberal or extremely conservative, both of them have them. Unfortunately, this 1/3 is kind of like the underbelly of the snake, which has kind of risen up, and young men like on my right here and so many others are just in disdain, and that's why you have such this break. The majority of the Republican Party isn't supporting Mr. Trump, and they ain't supporting some of his policies, some of his harmful and hurtful and un-American rhetoric that he's had. But there's a third that is. Part of that third you can trace back to the old Dixiecrats. It used to be Democrats. If you look at George Wallace when he ran for office. they have found a home and they have coalesced behind this one person. As long as you got these other candidates there, you're going to have these issues, you know. And to Mr. Clinton, President Clinton, excuse me, who came back, it was actually did win one primary before. He won the second one in New Hampshire. That's why they called him the comeback kid. But this really looks more from a broke convention. The last one was in 1968, and it was on the Democratic side. In '68, when Lyndon Baines Johnson,
the Republicans we haven't seen since 48.
Well, if you go back 2 years before that, you know, you had those issues then, but it really broke off in 1968 when Lyndon Baines Johnson, who only won one primary and then got out, and you had Robert Kennedy, and I can't remember the other gentleman who was running. Robert Kennedy, of course, got killed, and then the other gentleman went on to win all these states. The person who ended up getting the Democratic nomination didn't win one state. It was a broke convention, and the party leaders gave the convention to the, at the time, vice president, who had never won the thing. So that's what we're facing on the other side now, unfortunately.
Well, it's going to be a very interesting and memorable race for sure. Thank you guys so much for taking the time and coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
It's our pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
A state Senate committee is considering a bill to allow students, faculty members, and administrators with a permit to carry concealed handguns on campus. Dorms, athletic facilities, fraternities, and sororities would be off limits for concealed weapons. The Georgia House passed the so-called campus carry bill in late February. It remains to be seen what the Senate will do, but Governor Nathan Deal has spoken in favor of the legislation, although UGA Chancellor Hank Huckabee and President Jerry Moorhead oppose the bill. So do many other Georgia law enforcement officers. Last year, Georgia enacted a law allowing concealed carry in bars, nightclubs, and public areas in airports. Just ahead, we turn the spotlight on basketball. Find out how your Bobcat basketball teams finished their seasons. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
You make me wear my bike helmet. Taught me never to run with scissors.
You tell me to stay away from drugs.
To always buckle my seatbelt.
And to follow the swimming rules.
You're always looking out for me and trying to keep me safe.
So why do you keep a loaded gun in your drawer?
Here in the garage.
Closet. Shoebox. Under the bed.
Where anyone can get to it. How safe is that?
How safe is that?
How safe is that?
You asked them to follow some safety rules. Now they're asking you. In fact, they're counting on you. Never let your gun get into the wrong hands. If you own a firearm and are not using it, please be responsible and be sure that it's stored in a safe place. Remember, always lock it up. For more information on firearm storage safety, visit ncpc.org.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Thank you, dear. Well, you're very supple. Just like I was at your age. Back then, I was a sex expert. Used to call me the buttered biscuit. I know about birth control, too. So you can ask me anything, baby.
Bedsider.org has birth control information and a lot more. And it's...
Have you had sex in this car yet?
So Cole, what was your CA like when you were a freshman?
She was awesome. Her name was Kelly. She was super nice, always gave us free food, and probably just the best person ever. I'm not even gonna lie.
My CAs rocked also. But okay, it's time to bring it to Lauren and see her take on the Oscars.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Oscar Recap. Now, to preface, there was a lot of controversy surrounding the Oscars about the whitewashing of Hollywood, but I'm here for the movies, so let's talk about that. First, a massive upset for the Best Picture going to Spotlight, which beat Revenant and fan favorite The Martian. Spotlight shows the Boston Globe's investigative reporting unit uncovered massive and systemic sexual abuse by Catholic priests. Now, I haven't personally seen this movie actually, but it sounds super interesting, and I definitely want to now, especially knowing of the award that it got. Best Actress went to Brie Larson for The Room, a fantastic movie. It's a bit depressing, but moving. Room is about Joy and Jack, a mother and son, having been kept captive for 7 years in a shed by Jack's father. Joy does her best to convince Jack that the only room that they live in, their room, is the only thing that's real, and that there's no outside world, until their captor informs Joy that he may not be able to provide food for them anymore. So Joy has to find a way out. If you don't recognize her, Brie Larson was the high school girl Molly in 21 Jump Street. I thought that was really cool. So I'm glad she's finally getting her chance, in the big leagues. But for the moment everyone has been waiting for, Leonardo DiCaprio has won his first Oscar. Now, Leo has won a plethora of Golden Globes before, AFIs, MTV Movie Awards for things like Aviator, Wolf of Wall Street, Great Gatsby, and a bunch of other stuff. But this is his first Oscar win. As you might know, Leonardo has become an internet sensation for his track record of amazing movies and acting performances, but never an Oscar win. So it goes down in history that the meme is over. Leo fans can rest in peace. Personally though, I thought Eddie Redmayne really had a good chance, but he won last year for Theory of Everything, so let's give Leo his chance. But Mad Max Fury Road was the big winner Sunday night, taking home 6 Oscars for costume design, makeup and hair, production design, film editing, sound editing, and sound mixing. The great thing about Mad Max is that over 80% of the effects in the movie are practical effects, meaning no CGI. Stunts and effects deemed practical are created from scratch and in person. All the explosions and stuff you see are real. That takes a lot of work, and I'm glad more movies with practical effects, such as that and The Revenant, are getting more recognition in big awards. Revenant, the movie Leo won for, was shot entirely in natural lighting and in sequence, meaning when it's shot in sequence, the movie is shot in the order of the scenes that you see, which is never done and extremely time-consuming. Now, to no one's surprise, Inside Out won Best Animated Feature, of course. Walt Disney Pictures, or Pixar, has won 10 of the 15 Oscars since the category was created in 2002. And they have, countless other awards for shorts, music, editing, and so on. And with 2 more greatly anticipated animated Disney movies coming out this year, Zootopia coming out tomorrow, actually, and Moana, that's later this fall, the next Disney princess, one's destined to win next year's award as well. What I'm mainly upset about is of all the obscure editing and music-related awards, Star Wars didn't get a single thing. I was rooting for John Williams for Best Original Score. We can all agree Star Wars music is the most amazing music ever in all of history. All in all, when it comes down to it, I'm pleased with the main 5. I would have liked to see The Martian get some more recognition, but Best Picture this year, it was definitely difficult. There was a lot of good nominees, but I'm happy. What did you think? I hope you enjoyed my opinions. Take time to watch some of these winners if you haven't seen them yet. But after the break, basketball player Terrell Harris will be in the studio to talk about his last season as a Bobcat. Stick around, we'll be right back.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Buzzed, busted, and broke, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back to GC360. I'm Sam Jones.
And I'm Angela Morian. This week in sports, we are wrapping up the Bobcat basketball season.
Star senior guard and GC scoring record breaker Terrell Harris is in the studio for a live interview recapping his season. But first, let's take a look at how the rest of the basketball teams closed out their winning seasons.
The Georgia College men's basketball team, led by senior guard Terrell Harris, surpassed all expectations this season. Picked to finish dead last in the Peach Belt Conference by the PBC coaches, the Bobcats made the conference tournament, ending the season with an 18-11 record. The Bobcats have Harris to thank for much of their success, as the senior led the conference with 24.6 points per game and finished 10th in the conference in assists. Along the way, Harris set the NCAA-era career scoring record for GC, had the highest scoring game in school history with 39 points, and is a candidate for the PBC Player of the Year award. Harris and the Bobcats fell in the quarterfinal round of the conference tournament, but the Bobcats were still an extremely positive surprise in 2016. This is Sam Jones for GC360 Sports.
Now Terrell Harris joins us in front of the camera. Hello, Terrell. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks for inviting me.
So you are first in the PBC for field goal percentage, first in the PBC for points for this season, first for points per game, but your biggest stat is you are the leading all-time Bobcat in the NCAA era with 1,636 points. So we want to know, what are your plans after you graduate?
I just started a process of hiring an agent. I talked to 4 agents so far, so just going to take my time with this process, discuss my plans with my family first, and sit down with my coaches and just take it all in, and yeah, hopefully that process gets speed up, then we'll go from there.
So you'd like to go into the pros? Is that what the agent is for?
Yeah, hire an agent. Yeah, I would like to play in the NBA, but I won't complain if I have to go overseas or anything like that. So just very blessed to be able to get paid, to be able to get a paycheck to play a sport that I truly love and very passionate about.
So another thing buzzing around on Facebook and Twitter is you are one of 10 of Hero Sports' top Division II men's basketball of the season. You right now are in a very tight race with Ryan Stefan from Colorado Mesa. I believe last time I checked, 50 points. Yeah. So what are your feelings on that?
To be honest, I'd rather win a Peach Belt Player of the Year award that will be given out tomorrow night. But thanks to Hero Sports for nominating me for being one of the top 10 Division II basketball players, and shout out to Ryan, and yeah, go vote. Thanks.
Yeah, so you can vote on Facebook. It is all over Facebook on Thunder Crew and GC360's Facebook pages, so there's the link. We will be right back with Cabela's top-ranked bass fishing team. Sam went out on the boat with them to find out the secret to their national success. Stick with us.
Lake Sinclair, home of extensive wildlife, 400 miles of shoreline, and surprisingly, the best collegiate fishing team in the country. The Georgia College Bass Fishing Team is ranked #1 in the nation. Schools more than 6 times the size of Georgia College, like Auburn, South Carolina, and Alabama, all trail the Bobcat anglers in the latest national ranking released by the Association of Collegiate Anglers. The bass team started in 2008 with only 3 members on the roster. Now, 18 members, armed with 10 boats and a whole lot of bait, make up the bass fishing team, who compete in events across the country, traveling as far as Wisconsin last year. The team has competed in 20 events this year, with plenty more on the way. 4 Bobcat anglers, Justin Singleton, Ryan Stewart, Zach Bennett, and Chase Williams, have already qualified for national championship tournaments later this year. Robert Keene, a sophomore on the team, says the Bobcats' success this season comes down to teamwork.
This season we've really worked together as a team, and I think that's really contributed to how well we've done this season. In the past, we have not quite worked together as well as we should have. We've really worked on changing that this season, and I think it's really paid off in our current standing. To see Georgia College up there at the top of the list with like all the major universities around the country, I mean every university, is really something special. I didn't think we would be that. I had a feeling we were going to have a good season, but I didn't think we were going to be sitting where we are right now.
The Bobcats expect big things to continue with their team and hope that the team continues to grow. To learn more about the team, you can find the Bobcats on Facebook and Twitter and at their website. Despite the excitement around their Goliath-toppling ranking, the team doesn't seem focused on the hype. They're just focused on the next catch.
Just something about catching a fish, just that adrenaline rush. It's just, you can't beat it. Nothing can beat it. I couldn't think of anything else better to do than represent the school and fish at the same time.
The next tournament for the Bobcat Anglers begins March 11th at Kentucky Lake in Gilbertsville, Kentucky. This is Sam Jones, GC360 Sports.
Have you ever wondered whether law enforcement officers in Baldwin County use body cameras?
We'll have the answer for you after this break. Stay tuned.
That was my bad.
That's okay.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
It's a big issue on the national scene, policing in communities of color. We wondered how Baldwin County shapes up, so we sent Angie to talk to the officers at the Sheriff's Department.
You may have had a class with a student veteran, or you may pass one as you walk on campus every day. Georgia College is home to about 120 student veterans, one of whom is Jordan Wilcher, a junior accounting major who served in the Marines for 4 years.
I served from 2009 to December 2012. I deployed to Afghanistan twice from November 2010 through October 2011 in Helmand Province, Sangin Valley.
Jordan helped found Omega Delta Sigma, the veterans fraternity on campus, and hopes to create a place where student veterans could support one another in their transition to collegiate life.
The transition from military to civilian life, period, is difficult, especially if you don't have a family, if you don't have something there that's stable. When we created the Veterans Fraternity, it was after my best friend had committed suicide. He spent 9 months out of the Marine Corps, was done. So after that happened, I was like, well, obviously it's not just me. So by getting all these people together, we've created a place where we can just be who we were meant to be.
Reporting for GC360, I'm Mary Henderson.
That's it for news here at GC360. When we're not on air, we keep you up to date on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. I'm Cole Rogers.
And I'm Jessica Vickers. We'll see you again next week on GC360, where news comes full circle. The veteran package.